podcaster and analyst Joseph Craven was killed by bass drop.
Hit him too hard. The impact was too strong.
Was he sick? No, but the beat was.
All right, we'll just leave it there. Thanks for tuning in.
You know what? No context is the best context. That's what I've always said. Anyway, welcome to, it doesn't even matter what this is, because we suck. We're just so pissed off. We're about to get Alex Jones level pissed in this podcast. We're about to get InfoWars level upset.
I can already see your face turning as red as our kits.
I'm just gonna have to come up to all you cowards. Cowards in Liverpool. Anyway, I'm your close personal friend since childhood, Joseph Craven. We went to grade school together. I'm surprised you don't recognize me. And this is You'll Never Talk Alone. I'm joined by the one and only, the co-founder of the Snuggie, Mr. Alex Lebel. How are you tonight, man?
I'm better knowing that Dayon Lovren was wearing my product.
He's a huge fan. Massive supporter. Send that man I almost said scholarship instead of sponsorship. That would have been incorrect terminology. Oh well, shows you where we are, I guess. This is the angriest episode that we could possibly have, because we are obviously livid to be in first place in the league. All right, here's what I'm going to do here, because I basically the rundown of the episode, I'm going to give you and I'm going to give the listeners a chance to kind of have an understanding of where I'm going to go with this episode, okay?
Okay.
I feel like that's only fair. I feel like I owe it to you. I especially owe it to you, considering so far our only communication and planning for this podcast has been, hey, do you want to record tonight? And that's it.
That's it? No one even answered. This just was pure coincidence that we were on Hangouts at the same time.
I just happened to sit down at my laptop and I was like, I wonder what Alex is doing. I was just going to say, I wonder if he wants to do an Alex Jones impressions with me tonight. That sounds like a great use of my time. So we're going to talk a little bit about the match, obviously. Obviously, we have to talk about the match against Manchester United. And
do we, though?
I mean, the main question is whether it's the weirdest match that we've ever had. But we are going to talk about that a little bit. But then after that, I'm going to ask you two questions. I'm going to ask you, what thing are fans you think irrationally angry about that you're not quite as angry about? Because there's a lot of tension in Liverpool fandom right now. And I'm going to ask you, what's something that you are legitimately angry at as far as where the season sits? Okay?
Okay.
Those are going to be the two questions after we talk about the match a little bit. But first, we're going to talk about this catastrophe. I mean, it was an entertaining first half, aside from the fact that everyone was collapsing on the ground the entire match, or the entire first 45. But then it was just a god-awful second half of football. Like, it was impossible to watch, really. Like, just bad. But is this the weirdest match that we've had so far this year? Is there another one that stands out as being stranger than a match where the other team makes 3 subs in the first 45 minutes?
I don't think it's possible to be any more weird than that. What happened? I can't process it still.
Yeah.
Of course it would happen in this game, but at the same time, how could it happen in this game?
Of course. I think the most telling statistic to me was that at one point in the first half, there were more substitutions than there were shot attempts.
It might have finished like that as well.
It might have been. I didn't hear. I just remember the commentator saying at one point, after I think United had to make their second sub, but before United had to sub out the guy that they had just subbed in. Oh man. I mean, it was that first half. First and foremost, I thought it was a pretty good first half. I thought both teams actually came out swinging. So like, you don't ever want to admit that you are like paying respect to your rival at any point in time. So I'm not. Okay. But like United had some good moves in the first half in particular that stood out. They made a few good attempts. I think in particular, wasn't it the first half, the good breakdown they had where then out? Yeah, of course it was, because Lingard was it was right before
when he got
Lingard
hurt again. Yeah.
had to step out. But I think about that in particular. United had a really, really like clinical attacking approach. And if it was not for the incredibly impressive play from Alisson to charge out to the ball, catch the ball right before Lingard was able to really put a foot to it, all of that, then it would have almost undoubtedly been a goal, because it was a good build up and then it was a great save. So like that whole series of events was, oh my gosh, like both teams just did everything really well.
Yeah.
So therefore it's almost embarrassing to see how the second half ended up. But what do you think was going on in the match there that led to whatever that was?
And I think it was a combination of both game plans having to change forcibly. Naturally, their game plan changes when 3 of their people have to go off, one of which was a sub. I'm not really sure why Lingard was the one they sent on, but I wasn't complaining. And then our
weird
game,
decision.
And then our game plan had to adjust because of their personnel changing. We planned for certain players playing because that's who we knew were going to start. And then they had the injuries, and then Rashford was also injured, but they were out of substitution, so they just could not get him off the field.
Yeah.
So we had to alter how we were playing for 2/3 of the field, because we refused to alter how we were playing in the final third of the field, no matter what happened. But it was a period of adjusting and a period of feeling each other out, mostly us feeling them out, because we had so much of the ball in the first half and even in the second half. And we were just lacking that cutting edge with the ball. But it was a lot of adjusting and realignment and not executing anything very well.
And you look at the statistic that you're just pointing out. Obviously, Liverpool ended up with 65% of possession compared to 35. All right, so yes, at the end of the game, like you look at that, Liverpool had won the possession battle. Both teams fairly even on shots, but then you get to this point in which like you actually look at the shooting statistics, not the shooting statistics, and United only managed 6 shots total. Liverpool only managed 7 shots total. Liverpool only managed 1 shot on goal for the entire match. Was that good defense by the teams involved in terms of not letting the other team shoot, or was that some bad offense?
A little bit of both. Our defensive shape was really good. I mean, they got free a few times where they kind of hoofed a ball over the top, and somehow one of their attackers just ended up wide open. But we recovered quick enough to get in the way and win it back. And we held a really great line on their set pieces, which kept them from getting a lot of shots and ruled out the own goal. And from their perspective, they did defend well. Unfortunately, Luke Shaw had a great game. Mark Salah completely out of the match, coupled with Salah's just not playing very well yesterday. And they learned. They knew exactly what we were going to do, and they prepared for it. They did not spread the center backs wide to give us any chance to exploit any space in the middle. And they were really tall and just expected crosses, and they cut them out. And we helped them cut it out by not delivering very good balls or hitting the first man or just
and continuing to cross.
Yeah. I mean, I think I texted it to the group. This just felt like a match from 2 seasons ago, just straight out of 2 seasons ago, where we were struggling to break them down. So we just reverted to crossing poorly again and again and again. And it was just, there was no accountability in the sense that no one was brave enough to take anybody on or try anything different. And when we played them at Anfield, that's what happened when Shaqiri came on. We mixed up our attack and we scored 2 goals, unlike most of the goals this season. And we didn't have that from anybody, including Shaqiri when he came on. And it cost us. The game was there for the taking, but we just did not take it or even come close to taking it.
Yeah. So when you look back on it, on that point that you just made, are you frustrated at this match?
Yeah, especially because it's United, and I just hate everything about them.
Sure, sure.
But it's painful knowing that we could have won this match had we done some things just a little bit differently and executed a little bit better and just had some accountability. And I probably haven't brought up this since last season or so, but Simeone always talks about his players having balls, and nobody had any balls yesterday. And we saw it because no one even hit a shot from outside. No one was testing. No one was trying to do anything new. We were just playing the overlapping fullback every time and hoping that this next cross would be the cross home. And, it never was.
Hasn't that been the attacking game plan for a while now? Like, I feel like we've talked about it before on the podcast about how no one attempts a long range shot anymore. Like, we lost Gerrard and we lost Coutinho. And once they were gone, we didn't even attempt anything. We didn't, even if it was like never going to make it, like never stood a chance sort of shot, we wouldn't even attempt it to try to keep a defense honest, you know?
Right.
It's that we really play through the wings, through the fullbacks, a massive amount, really a predictable amount. And it really seemed to be the downfall here, in that we kept trying to hoof in those crosses like you were talking about.
And it was the same type of delivery, too. You see teams get around the edge and not just dig out a cross from all the way out wide. They'll try to get to the end line and kind of dribble along the end line and play a negative angle pass from essentially where the 6-yard box ends, right on the end line. And we didn't do any of that. It was always the same, just, I got to cross it now or else I'm going to screw it up. And then they screwed it up by doing that. So I don't know what happened. We were just scared, nervous, hesitant. I don't know what happened, but it kept happening over and over again, and it was just immensely frustrating to watch. Ugh.
Okay, so frustrating, yes, but like anger-inducing.
More frustrating. I don't know if I'm necessarily angry. It's frustrating. The past month and a half has been very frustrating, and people who are kind of all jolly and good have got to be kidding themselves a little bit because it's not all jolly and good, but we have to be honest about that. Being in first place in this league this season seems like being in first place in Mario Kart in like lap 2 of 3, where it's just the absolute worst place to be, and being in second, chasing, all the pressure's off, and you get all the best perks and power-ups.
You just know the game is about to cheat you in some sort of way.
Yeah, like here comes communism to level the playing field.
It's like having a lead in NBA Jam.
Yeah, exactly. Just having a lead in any video game is
really any video game. Yeah. But is it the shoes? It's I think you're absolutely right. It's more than anything else, this is what stands out to me, and I think this is what feeds into so much of the anger that so many fans express on social media, in the Facebook groups, out on Reddit, all that sort of stuff. Because there is no one in the world who is like frustrated but not angry. You know, you either have the Liverpool fans that are pissed to the highest level of pissosity, as a former coworker of mine once said, or you have the people that are just like, I can't believe you guys are mad. We're in first place, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, we had someone mention to us, oh gosh, who was it? Who tweeted at us and was like, it kind of sounded like a depressed episode. Was that Sal who said that? Yeah. Who tweeted at us and said that. And, I replied with, well, I mean, it's because this is a season that is 30 years in the making.
Right.
And so everyone is stressed. And so no one knows how to react. You either have the people that are trying to pretend that they're not stressed and they're saying, we're in first place, championships aren't won in February. Well,
like, how could you be upset in any way, shape, or form?
Right. What do you demand? That we win more games than draw them? What? But then you have the people who think this is the end of the world, and because they don't know how to handle the stress either. But that's what it comes down to. It's all stress, right?
Yeah, and it's you can see it distinctly with the whole we've only lost one game the
Right.
entire season stat, record. Because some people are like, how can't be mad. We've only lost one game. But on the other hand, it's like we've only lost one game and we're only 1 point ahead.
Yeah.
And so it's good and bad. Of course, it would happen this season where we go on a great run, where someone else also goes on a great run.
Yep.
Keeps it close. There's been things that have been very frustrating. We've had chances to open up leads, but then again, we did pull it back and take the lead. So there's been so much good, and the tiny frustrations, the smaller frustrations, are definitely less than the good, but they have the potential to cost us dearly. And it's tough watching a team you care so much about struggle and make some interesting decisions, like starting Milner at right back, or not making changes in the midfield sooner, or bringing on Sturridge and Origi. It's just some very confusing choices that added to the frustration a little bit.
Trust me, I get it. I currently have the New Orleans Pelicans on the TV as we're talking. So you talk about frustrating franchise decisions. There's my fandom right there. Anyway, no, it's frustrating. I try to approach sports in any level in two sort of ways. I try to not be the guy that responds super emotionally, whether it be good or bad. I try to give myself time to think it through. I used to have a rule about like major sporting events where I would not talk about them for 48 hours because it really was more like 24 hours. And then by the second day couldn't help myself and I'd start blabbing anyway. But just needed time to process it, think about it. Okay, what went wrong? Like if they lost, whatever it is. So I try to approach it that way. But at the same time, you also, you can't be the person who is all doom and gloom all the time. I was sitting around at a basketball game with some people a couple of weeks back, and they actually frustrated me so badly to the point of getting up and leaving and walking a few sections over to finish watching the game, because even when things went well, they just couldn't help but complain, and it can be difficult being a sports fan. But I don't really remember why I was going on that rant. We're going to move on with the episode now. And our transition period, we're going to talk about real quickly, man, how crazy is it what was going on at Chelsea this past weekend? And Kepa not wanting to leave the field. What happened?
I've never seen anything like that before. And they're definitely putting some sort of PR spin on the whole miscommunication about the injury. I know it's come out that he's been fined a week's wages. I think it was a week's wages, but it'll be very interesting to see if he starts against Spurs, just because I don't know how you can come back from that. But at the same time, of course, Chelsea, he can come back from that, and Sarri is the one who's going to end up falling on the sword.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see how you can get away with saying anything about a miscommunication about anything when you literally have your manager on the sidelines screaming and waving his hands saying, come here. This is like when my dog refuses to listen to me when I tell her to come here type of thing, like it's unbelievable. As a side note, my dog decided to start the day off by getting apparently too excited about something in the front yard and punching a window straight out of the window pane and climbing out into the front yard.
Wow.
I was getting ready for work. I was like, man, it's quiet in here. And I walked out to see her sitting on the front porch like, you going to let me back in?
What the hell?
So anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you can try to spin it however you want to spin it. But the fact of the matter is, like, two egos went to war on the pitch. The ego of the keeper who's trying to say, no, I'm not that hurt. And the ego of the manager who's just like, no, I made the decision. You have to listen to me now.
And then just blatantly disrespecting his boss. Like, no, I'm not coming. And then the teammates, that's the weird part too, is like all the Chelsea players didn't really intervene.
Nope.
The captain didn't say like, hey, our coach, the guy who manages us is saying leave. You should probably leave. You should probably let the keeper that used to play for the team we're playing and has won them a Carabao Cup final in penalties, unfortunately. We have to bring that up on this podcast, but I mean, it seems like it'd be a good idea, but
no. Anyway, if there's any credit here is that at the very least, how do you pronounce it? Kepa? Do you pronounce it Kepa?
I think it's Kepa.
Kepa.
But for humor's sake, we can call him Kepa because he is a Kepa.
Yeah, exactly. Kepa the Kepa. It's like, yeah, Parappa the rapper.
Yeah.
At the very least, he did say afterwards that he admitted, hey, that's on me. I made a, quote, big mistake. So by defying the manager's orders. So he at least said, okay, I made a big mistake.
And he strengthened his position in the team by refusing to sub out and then slapping Aguero's penalty into the goal.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that result is going to work out well for him either in terms of his chances moving forward. All right, let's bounce back to Liverpool then and address the two questions I presented at the top of the podcast. Number one, what's something that when you look at maybe people are angry about a lot of things in the Liverpool fan world right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that any of them are inherently like illogical, anything like that. That's not my place to say. But people are angry. What's something that when you look at it, you don't understand the anger for?
So one small thing in relation to this match that I don't see the anger for, it's not really anger. It's just kind of, it was doing the rounds today online, is the whole Henderson handshake thing when he got subbed off that he didn't give Klopp a handshake. It's totally a non-issue. Of course he's going to be frustrated when we're not playing well and he's come off against our big rival. I mean, of course he's going to be upset. Of course he wants to stay out there. He's the club captain. So there's really no reason to worry about that at all. But I think that probably overall, the thing that makes me the most angry and I don't understand the anger for is like we just talked about, is other fans having different feelings about what's going on. There seems to be this just like aggression towards anyone who isn't blindly optimistic or wildly depressed about how things are going on. It's led to just some really stupid arguments. Granted, of course, it's mostly checking on Twitter and Reddit, which is just the hotbed for stupid arguments. But if we need to band together as a fan base, and there's nothing really gained by someone commenting like, wow, that was a crap performance. And like, how could you think that? We're top of the league. It's like, well, you have to take the good with the bad. And you have to openly acknowledge that maybe we're not playing so well. And we could have opened the gap up to 10 points or 15 points had we played really well. And if we don't, the club, especially the team, the players, if we don't acknowledge that things haven't been going as well and we don't change something slightly, we're going to keep putting in performances like that and we'll continue to suffer. You can't just ignore stuff that you don't like.
I don't like your answer, actually, so I'm not going to say anything about it.
Well, you're blocked.
No, and that I think hints at the larger culture of where we are right now in terms of having all of the information in the world available to us, and so we don't really take the time to process it. We just respond a whole lot. I think it happens a lot in sports fandom in general. And as I'm watching, as I mentioned, I have an NBA game playing in the background here. There's actually a commercial going on with Jason Whitlock, sports commentator, sports. I don't know what you describe him as.
Sports guy who gets paid to say nonsense.
Yeah, guy who gets paid to have terrible opinions and make people mad. Anyway, the commercial was on there, so it just kind of fits. But, strong opinions are popular these days, more so than anything else. Like hot takes are popular. Saying stuff to get attention is popular, and I feel like there's a lot of people that will say stuff on like these message boards because they just really want a response in some sort of way. Which I've been there, I get it, whatever. But it's interesting seeing it expressed in the way that it is right now with Liverpool fans. I think the thing that that people get mad about, but I don't necessarily get as mad about, is that most of the matches in which we are maybe not hitting on like the, top gear or whatever it is, most of those matches in which people are really getting upset about happen to be against traditionally good teams, like a Manchester United, like not being able to score a goal against Bayern Munich. Yes, you've got the weird West Ham Leicester draws that did happen at the end of January, beginning of February. West Ham especially, but like Leicester every now and then is a really good team. You know, I mean, in the course of this season, every now and then they're a really good team this season. Every now and then they're a terrible team this season. But like beyond that, I mean, the only league loss is to Man City. The only like the other team that's really, really freaking good right now.
Yeah.
Outside of the 5-1 ridiculous drubbing of Arsenal, we haven't really flat out dominated the top tier teams.
Mm-hmm.
We drew against City the first time around. And I think people are frustrated because in the past few seasons, we have done very well against the top six, like the traditional top six, and poorly against the bad teams. And it's flipped so far this year. And we really badly wish that it wasn't flipped. We really badly wish we had just been able to bring those performances up against the bad teams to match the good teams, but instead it's kind of flipped.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't get as angry about that, because I'd much rather be stomping down on the Cardiffs and Burnleys of the world.
Yeah.
Than I would be, drubbing Man City and then going and instantly losing to Cardiff or whatever.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe that's when I look at it, that's something I don't really get angry about, is the fact that most of the disappointing results that we have, West Ham in particular was weird. And Leicester was weird, but I'll get to that in a minute because I have another point I'm going to bring up later on.
Hey.
But I don't get as angry about it. Like that segue? Solid segue, I think. But anyway, so what is something that actually, you do agree with, you do get angry about?
So I get angry about our depth, and I totally understand that we can't buy 50 people in a transfer window, but it was a little bit unfortunate with everyone agreeing to stop the transfer window before the season started, because there was no time to recover when things didn't necessarily work out. But I mean, we're still in a situation where we're bringing in Divock Origi, and he's Daniel Sturridge, but he's not the Daniel Sturridge we love. He's a totally different player now. We're still bringing them off the bench. They're still our backup strikers. They're still not in any way the profile that we would need to replace and maintain our level and maintain our style of play. We're still playing James Milner at right back, and we love Milner on this podcast, but when he plays right back, he's just not even close to as effective. And when he got all those assists last season, it was because he was fluctuating between the center and that wide areas. It was throwing people off, but now he's already out there and he's just struggling to deliver anything good. We're still stuck with weird center back depth rotation. I mean, surprisingly enough, besides Fabinho, Matip was probably our best player against United. Yeah. He was dribbling.
Matip might have been our best midfielder.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So I mean, good for him, but we still have so many injury-prone center backs. You can see why we wanted Nabil Fekir in matches like these, and it looks a little unfortunate that we did not get anyone that fits that profile. We sort of got Shaqiri, who sort of does that, and he's done that for a little while, but his play has tapered off. Granted, he's been injured, but he was a non-factor when he came on against United. And with kind of the reconfiguration of our attack and our midfield, he doesn't really look like he knows where he should be when he's on the field. And all the stuff that we praised him for earlier in the season, he's just not doing as much of late. And it's really unfortunate. And we'd love to have a more different types of players to bring on that could fit that mold, because we have so many overlapping skills with a lot of the midfields that we put out that they can tend to get in each other's way or just not complement each other. And I talk about balance a lot, and we find it and then we lose it immediately. Yeah. And it's a lot of the problems that we've seen before and been frustrated about are almost ramped up despite us being so much better, because the stakes are so much higher. And that really frustrates me. And historic listeners know that I'm a huge fan of buying people, and I almost made a joke, but I did not want that audio part to be snipped and played out of context, so I won't say it. But we need more people, and it's unfortunate that we don't buy in January unless it's someone major. But I feel like it could end up hurting us because everyone on our team breaks.
Yeah. And kind of playing directly into that was the point that I was going to make. And what really directly affected those Leicester City and West Ham draws is kind of what you're saying. What frustrates me more than anything else is the moment, not even necessarily the depth, because yeah, I know that we can't really count on Daniel Sturridge to be Daniel Sturridge anymore, but we know that somewhere deep down inside, there is still that Daniel Sturridge who can show up in small bursts, you know. But along with that, what gets me is that the moment someone does go down with an injury, the moment we make one rotation in the lineup at all team chemistry falls apart.
Yep.
And it is astounding to me how the team completely stops any rhythm and flow or anything when there is one change being made. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be anything as extreme as putting James Milner in at right back, which is dumb. It just is something as extreme as having to put in a different center back because we have injuries going on. And for some reason, instantly the entire team just doesn't play the same way, can't play the same way, can't figure out what the other person's doing. Like, oh, that is so frustrating to me that it can be any number of, I don't know, combinations throughout the course of the season, which also means it can be any number of types of like style and performance wise at any point in the season because we cannot for the life of us maintain any level of chemistry whenever anything happens. And so, yeah, maybe it is a depth issue, like you were just saying, and that we just don't have the right people, don't have the right personnel. But man, shouldn't Shaqiri be solving that? Like he looked like he was. Shouldn't Keita be solving that? He's been playing hot recently. You know, it's that sort of thing. It's just it takes us too long to get back in a rhythm.
Yeah. Definitely agree with that. As you can see, because I think there were some numbers going around that showed how much worse we were after long breaks. You'd think long breaks would help us, but we're used to playing like every 5-6 days, and anything longer than that just really throws us off.
Yeah, it's bizarre to me. What's also bizarre to me is that NBA teams slept on Boban Marjanovic until now. Backup center for the 76ers, who is like 7'4" and is just a monster. And people didn't give him credit before now. It's a shame. It's a shame.
They tried. They just couldn't spell his name.
That was really it. Like, we're going to draft him, but I don't know how to say it.
Boo-boo Vladimir?
Oh, man. All right. We're looking at, I mean, where we are right now. We look at the table as it stands. Obviously closer than we want it to be, but through 27 matches, still a point ahead. How many more matches do we have left? What's in the season? Like
there's 38 in a season.
38. All right, so we got 11 more. Could not for the life of me remember. Oh, it's basic math.
Yeah.
It's 20 teams, and you play. Okay. Whoops. All right. So we've got 11 matches left, and there's plenty of opportunities to get points coming ahead. I mean, just look at the fact that our next matchup is Watford. You know, not exactly a terrifying team, but you never know at this point. All right, let's looking ahead, specifically at Watford, but also just kind of who we have in general in the immediate future, which is Watford. Another Merseyside derby.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I didn't realize that was happening again already. But then Burnley, Fulham. I mean, it really is that until we get to the end of March before we have another team that really strikes any fear into our hearts. So more opportunities for 4 points here, specifically looking at Watford, but also the stretch leading up in the league to the end of March. How are you feeling about that right now, the immediate future?
Yeah, despite all the stuff we just said earlier, I'm still feeling pretty confident. I think we can find it, find our form, find a rhythm. A lot will depend on how injured Bobby Firmino is.
Yeah.
Because even when he's not playing well, even when he's really frustrating on the ball, the way he works off the ball creates so many opportunities for other players. And
Yep.
if we don't have him, which we might not for the Watford match, things could change a lot. We've played Salah up top, we've played Shaqiri out wide. That seems to be the most natural rotation because, as we've discussed this episode, our backup strikers don't really strike fear into anyone's hearts.
Right.
So,
Hey, and here's a quick question. In the United match, was that the worst? I know we didn't have Bobby for very long, but was that the worst performance, the most uninspired performance from our attacking three that you've seen so far this year?
it was up there. I mean, West Ham was pretty bad. So it was just it was either that match or Napoli away. Those are
Okay.
probably the worst two that I've seen, just because I don't know what it. This one at least started really brightly, where we forced a indirect free kick in the box the first minute in, and I was like, all
Yeah.
right, here we go, and then just is what
Yep.
happened after that. And I don't know how that happened. I mean, I do know kind of how that happened. Bobby going off really hurt. But yeah, this or Napoli away.
All right. I was just curious. Okay, back to the Back to the Future, Watford, and then the matches after that.
Yeah, so I don't think Watford is anything to get too worried about, especially at home. But we have to go out and beat what's in front of us. We have to go out there and take care of business. We can't let this result get at us. We have to put our frustration away and just go back to what we do best. Would love to see Trent come back in. He must have been injured or picked up a knock in training or in the Bayern match, because other than that, I can't really see why he doesn't play against United, even with Rashford out there. Excuse me. And I would love to see Keita come back in, just because, again, I was very surprised to not see him against United. But
It was
a
shocking.
team that will defend and try to disrupt the game by not, they're not going to come at us and try to pass around us. They're going to try to get in our way. And we need someone to take chances and go at people, beat one, beat two, give the ball, because that's how we're going to create space for ourselves. We can't just pass around like all the way around the 18-yard box and hope for the best. They're huge, they're massive, and we're not going to win it in the air. So we got to do something better. And after this match, which I am feeling confident about, there's only 4 matches that really stand out, one of which could be rendered irrelevant depending on results. One of them, Merseyside Derby away,
Mm-hmm.
Spurs at home, Chelsea at home, Wolves at home on the last day. Spurs and Chelsea are the big ones that I'm most worried about. But you never know in derby matches. We have to go out there and we have to do the business, because we won off a fluke last time, so we can't
Right.
take anything for granted.
Absolutely. I think if I'm looking ahead, yeah, I mean, yeah, those are the ones that are obviously standouts.
But they're all at home, which is great.
Yes,
For the derby.
except for the Derby. But what yeah, and you never know what you're going to get with Wolves at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's the last day of the season, so title could have been decided at that point.
yeah, it could have been. That's very true. But they're just such a weird team.
Yeah.
They're such a weird team. Like every now and then you look at them and like, oh yeah, like this is a team that obviously put a lot of resources and time into building, to completely scratching and rebuilding. And then you look at it and sometimes you're like, wow, how is this team even here? They're a weird one.
Did someone just log on to AOL Instant Messenger in the background?
Yeah, I think they did. I think they did. They're about to sign off in a minute. You'll hear the yeah. Also with Wolves, FIFA loves Wolves, I've noticed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you do, FIFA is going to make Wolves one of the top teams in the league, like within like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. All right, so Watford themselves, look at them right now. I mean, they are in a decent run of form, which is, I don't know, it's still Watford. But outside of a loss to Tottenham, at the end of January through the month of February, they have not had any negative results across the different leagues they played in. They've had a draw with Brighton. They defeated Everton in the Premier League. They beat Queen's Park Rangers. Shout out to Queen's Park Rangers for showing up in the podcast tonight in the FA Cup. And then drubbed Cardiff City 5-1 earlier, just a few days ago here in February.
A few hours ago.
It just finished. But no, so they're in a decent run of form. Is there anything about that worries you at all?
Not really. I mean, they're solid. They're one of those teams competing for the Everton Trophy. So I mean, they can do it. They can't do it. They're very hot and cold. They've got some players that could potentially worry us, but they're so inconsistent that I feel like we have more than enough to take care of this, especially at home, just as long as the crowd doesn't get too antsy. Yeah. The crowd needs to back the team because the team it will feed off each other, and we need the fans that are there to pull the team forward just as much as we need the team to pull the fans forward in belief and beat the heck out of those mooses, which I think it's actually supposed to be a stag in their crest, but
no, it's a moose. I'm with you on that. I ain't no stag I've ever seen. One of those English stags. All right, how about a scoreline prediction?
I'm feeling tough, boring 2-0 win.
Solid. I like it. I like it a lot. Do you remember the last time you and I recorded one of these podcasts, and it was before the Bayern match, and I definitely said that I felt super confident there would be goals scored in that match?
Yeah.
Turns out there super weren't. Well, I'm going to go the complete opposite way then and say this match is also, I'm agreeing with you, it's going to be a 1-0 Liverpool victory against Watford because I don't want to look that much like an idiot again so soon.
Yeah.
Actually, this is one I would love to look like an idiot. If Liverpool dropped 5 or 6 goals in this match and I looked like an idiot for saying that we would scrape by, fine with that. Love that. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, if we have trained exclusively set pieces since the United match ended and this Watford match begins, we'll at least get 1 goal.
Yeah.
But we need to work on those very, very badly. It got even worse. Against United.
How is it possible? Oh, well. I believe that is going to, as they say in the business, close this episode out for us. That's a broadcasting term.
Yeah, it's a showbiz term.
Yeah. I don't mean to brag, but I'm kind of familiar with the business. I worked an internship in local radio like 10 years ago, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. But that is going to wrap things up here. Tweet at us and answer this question. Are you in the irrationally angry camp as a fan, or are you in the irrationally calm camp? Because both sides are irrational, and I think we all fit into those different things. I fit in the irrationally calm camp, personally, and I have to force myself to be more angry. Where do you fit, Alex?
I'm probably in the more irrationally angry side, but
Solid.
It's like a parent scolding a child. Like it's done out of love.
At least that's what we say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I punch a hole in my wall.
All right. So tweet at us, let us know which side of the fence you fall on as well. Talk to us a little bit about Watford. Tell us whether their recent good run of form worries you at all. That matchup, of course, coming up on the 27th. So I was going to say like the actual amount of days, but then I realized by the time this is up, I mean, you might be listening to it the day before. You might be listening to it on the day of. So it doesn't matter. You just know that it's coming up on the 27th. But talk to us about Watford or even the Everton match as we jump into the month of March. Wow. It is hard to believe that in just a few days we will hit another month, and in just about a week, I'll turn 31. Ugh,
Oh man,
that's weird. Super
what
weird.
are you doing?
Eroding, basically. I'm just falling apart over here. Entropy, just having its way with my disgusting 31-year-old body. All right, that's going to wrap up this episode. Alex, thank you again for everything.
That's a terrible opinion. So,
Oh, God. All right. I'm rattled to my core off of that. I'm going to just, I guess, say goodbye.
bye.